first few years of Google Pixel phones didn't sell well at all. The first 3 Pixel phones sold a collective few million devices. Google needed a new strategy, so it turned to a similar formula as the Nexus line. No costs cut, clean, optimized software, paired with cost-cutting design and build quality. Comparing rough sales numbers, the Pixel 3a was a massive success. Even compared to the Pixel 4, there was no competition. Released after numerous months of delay and just a month before the 4a 5G and the Pixel 5, the Pixel 4a stood as a follow-up to the Pixel 3a. It continued the line's focus of minimal hardware and materials with smooth Android 10 and a fantastic camera experience. But now that the 6, 6 Pro, and 5a have come out, with rumors of the 6a on the horizon, how does the Pixel 4a stand up in Google's lineup? Here's the thing, the 4a isn't meant to stand up to the 6, the way even the 5a theoretically could. The 4a seems to be one last hurrah, one last olive branch to the small phone lovers, before they too are sucked up into the massive mobile madness that is this world. The 4a feels very small, with nicely rounded sides, a very one-handable 5.8-inch display, very thin bezels, and a hole punch cutout up top. I have here the limited edition barely blue model, which came with a nice little orange accented power button. The other color option that Google released was just black, which frankly fits the name. The 4a has the usual volume buttons, microphones, speaker grills, and around back there is a single 12 megapixel camera as well as a flash. One note about this device, there is no water resistant, so don't go jumping in any pools unless you want to spend another $300 to $350 to buy another one. Around back, I never really minded the camera bump. It never rocked that much when I laid it on a table. I had no problems with it. Additionally, the back plastic is pretty smooth. It has this kind of eggshell feel, reminiscent of the Nexus 5X actually. It's kind of slippery, if not as slick as glasses. The fingerprint reader around back is excellent with very quick recognition, and the swipe down and up to get to the notification tray is just as useful as I remember. Although the annoyances of the scanner not working when my finger is covered in oil or sweat from exercising or cooking is also just as annoying. A new annoyance, however, on the 4a is how recessed that scanner is. Without a case on, it felt like I was just touching a random part of the phone. I don't get why Google didn't just put a ring around it or recess it more into the back of the device, but a case fixed the problem. All in all, the design of the 4a is very nice. I like the feel of the plastic, even though it is just a little slick. But because of the light weight, it's really easy to use in one hand. And the thinness and smaller screen, coming from an iPhone XR, made this phone a true pleasure to actually use as a phone in one hand. Speaking of the screen, for $350, I'm pretty blown away. It feels incredibly expansive due to the reduced bezel size. It's colorful, contrasty, blacks look deep, and I'm willing to let the slightly lower display brightness and slightly higher display reflectivity go for the price tag. Those factors weren't bad. For the price, frankly, I think they're pretty good. I really enjoyed the screen on here. It made watching all sorts of content look sharp, detailed, and enjoyable. There was some color shifting off axis. It tended to purple out, and it doesn't get as bright as some flagships, and it doesn't refresh higher than 60 Hz. I did find that adaptive brightness was fairly aggressive as it made these big jumps instead of smooth swings. On the bright side, the hole punch wasn't distracting, even when it did cut into video content, but for the way that I normally use my phone, it wasn't that big of a deal. While not directly on the screen, I'll throw in a side on the speakers. They're nothing special. They don't have the most bass, they don't have the best highs or the strongest mids, but for a phone speaker to quickly listen to a video or take a call when you're in a place that it is socially acceptable for you to take a call on a phone speaker, it's perfectly fine. It gets the job done. Overall, the audio and video experience on the phone is quite good, and for $350, I am very pleased with this. Next up was software and performance. I went into this expecting middling performance, pulled down by the lower end processor and raised up by Google's awesome optimization ability. And this fell roughly in line with what I was expecting. Most UI interactions were very smooth. Apps didn't take a long time to load, the phone never got incredibly hot on me, and RAM usage was more than adequate. I was quite impressed. The Pixel felt decidedly good. It certainly isn't blazing fast, it's not instantaneous or lightning or greased lightning, but it's good. Sometimes animations would stutter, and especially loading the camera would cause the whole phone to choke and just stop. Granted, I've experienced this issue on more powerful devices, namely the Pixel 5, which leads me to believe this is a software issue with the camera app and not the hardware. Overall, I think the job Google has done here to optimize the software for the Pixel 4a is exemplary, as 95% of the time, the 4a just glides through transitions and animations. Granted, I don't really do enough to push this phone. I don't play games on my phone, I don't video edit on my phone. Really, the most I do is listen to music and snap some pictures. And for those general use cases, the 4a will not let you down. There is more than enough power here. Yes, you can get some devices that are 1 to 2 seconds faster at tasks, but if that's what you want, why are you looking at a 4a? If you're considering the 4a, slightly slower performance will not be a problem for you. And for you, the 4a more than delivers. The software experience, however, is something else. I have a whole video coming up about Android 12 and some of the problems it brings, but I'll sum up my thoughts for the 4a here. Honestly, I kind of like the direction Google is taking with Material U, but it wasn't the best experience. Especially battery, which suffered majorly. I set up the 4a on Android 11 and then immediately downloaded Android 12 before doing any actual setup, so this was basically a brand new device, and battery life was terrible. I ended up downgrading to Android 11, where I found performance to be smoother and some of the design decisions to make more sense on the slightly smaller screen. I really did, though, love getting back into Android coming from iOS. The smooth design choices of Pixel UI, the amazing call screening and call hold for me features, the speed of the Google Assistant, which, by the way, is instant. The smart controls in the power menu, the integration with Google Home, heck, even pairing my AirPods to my Pixel 4a felt faster than on my XR. Android 11 on this device is very clean and very minimal, and I wish that the default launcher gave us a few more features, but that's really one of my only gripes. I didn't realize how much I missed Android until I moved back to the Pixel. There's something so nice about the quick transitions in the settings and contacts menu, the ability to control multiple volume levels without going into settings, the easy quick toggles and control over default apps, the different Pixel features like flip to shh and the granular control over do not disturb modes, the always on display and more powerful reply actions from notifications shades. Android is just such a delight to use with all these clean and thoughtful design touches. There are some quirks, like if I play a song on Spotify over my Google Home, now playing picks up the song and then tells me the song even though I'm casting it to my Google Home. Additionally, the integration between the camera app and the Photos app gets weird, and the camera app gets oddly slow sometimes. Little quirks like these that I feel Google should have fixed by now, especially with the amount of user feedback and engineering power they have available to them. Most of my software thoughts, though, I am describing in another video, so go check that out once that's out to hear more about it. In short, though, Android 11 on the 4a is a delightfully minimalist, clean, and useful software experience to match the hardware this phone is wrapped in. I'll get this one quickly so we can get through to the camera. Battery life was a little more disappointing than I'd hoped. I think a major part of this was the battery drain I've experienced on Android 12. I was getting about 2 to 3 hours of screen on time with fairly mixed, moderate usage. It barely lasted me 12 hours. That included a mixture of Spotify usage over Bluetooth, some scrolling in Instagram and Twitter, watching some videos in YouTube, sending a fair number of texts, that kind of stuff. Almost all of this usage was connected to Wi-Fi, the device was never hot, and I was running it around medium screen brightness. I did go into low power mode near the end of the day, which did help me eke out about an hour more juice, and battery did improve moving back to Android 11, where I could get about 4 hours of screen on time with 14 to 15 hours of usage. This wasn't a 2-day battery life experience like I frankly hoped it would be, owing to the power-sipping processor and the smaller screen. It was merely good enough. Once I reverted back to Android 11, I could definitely get a day's usage from this device, but nothing more. Now, I've kept you all waiting long enough. The camera. If you're looking at a 4A, you want a clean software experience, a low price, and most importantly, a great camera experience. And from an average person, the camera experience was fantastic. I'm not a pro camera user, even with running my own YouTube channel. What I want with a camera is to be able to point, click the shutter button, and have a good picture 9 out of 10 times. And 9 out of 10 times, the Pixel 4a delivers. Colors are bright, whites aren't too warm or cool, shadows have great detail, exposure across a range of conditions is excellent, sharpness looks like it's been cranked up to just the right amount, there's good depth of field, low light pictures are devoid of noise and they retain their color and sharpness. The camera has a bunch of different modes, but it doesn't feel too cluttered. And I also didn't find that I was getting blurry photos. Exposure was handled correctly with non-blown out skies and dark shadows. Focus, whether it was tap to focus or autofocus, was very quick and accurate. And I really think that one of the best things that I can say about the 4A's camera is just how consistent it is. Regardless of the situation, it consistently turned out an amazing image. Night sight truly blew me away. When using the 12 mini, I was impressed at how much light the camera was able to draw, and this is even better on the Pixel. You do have to wait a few seconds for the image to capture and a few more for it to process, but when you do, the Pixel works magic on them. I took night sight pictures in nearly pitch black areas I could not see myself, and the Pixel gave me an image that, while soft and noisy, I could actually see where I was in the woods. I won't lie, the camera does take a moment to process images when you go to view them, but at a certain point it was almost kind of fun to watch, because you could see it just snap from what it had been to what it was. I will admit, zooming into the images does degrade the quality, fairly noticeable, fairly quickly. Things get softer and detail gets lost, but just looking at the image on my phone, my laptop, or my monitor, no matter where, the images looked beautiful. There's great control in the camera between the highlight and shadow control, and a very handy align function so you know if your phone is horizontal. This camera renders images the way that I see them, which is the highest praise I can give it. Sadly, video experience is a little different. It's not that it's bad, it's just not as good as pictures because Google can't run their algorithms fast enough on videos. Video is good quality. Good colors, decent sharpness, and dynamic range, all of it. It's just, if pictures are a 9 out of 10, video's more like a 7.5 out of 10. To me, stabilization was the more impressive part than the quality. Additionally, the 4A can do 4K at 30 frames per second, which, while not too bad for the price and the hardware, is a little disappointing. I would have loved to have seen 4K at 60 if possible. 4K at 30 is noticeably less smooth than 60, and there weren't any other options like 24. One of the oddities I did notice with the video was kind of a weird jerk when starting one, as if it needed a moment for the stabilization to kick in. But all of these are small gripes for what is truly a fantastic camera experience on the 4A. I looked for more places to photograph, more moments to manufacture these different memories because of the tool I had in my pocket. With a simple camera app, the Pixel 4a represents a massive step up in the quality that the average user can expect out of their phone for their camera. And for the average user, the 4a represents a quality device. I go back and forth on whether the A in Pixel 4a stands for affordable or accessible, because the 4a is not designed for the user who wants a premium smartphone. They don't need 4 cameras or a waterfall display or the best voice dictation or a high refresh rate display or anything else. They just want a clean, simple phone that consistently does what it says it'll do without getting in their way. The 4a is perfect for someone like my dad, who really just wants a smartphone that'll last all day, make his phone calls, and send his text messages. The 4a does all of those things outstandingly, incorporating a better display than the 3a, all for a base price lower than those devices, with more storage. And now you can pick up a 4a for $280, which is really a great value. You're getting a small phone with a great display, a great battery life, and good software support. This isn't a flashy phone. This isn't the phone that people will see you using and ask you about. That's not the point. It's designed to blend in, not to stand out, not to cause a stir. It's designed to give you a constant, simple experience, from the smooth plastic back that won't crack if you look at it wrong, to the software that just works. Google has promised to continue selling the 4a as long as they have the supply to do so, and I think that's a good decision. This device offers a small size and good enough performance for people who just want a basic phone. And I hope to see Google continue this trend. There is a reason that the A series has achieved the success that it has. Because even a year after its release, Google hit the ball out of the park with the 4a. I can confidently recommend this device if you can pick one up. Thank you all so much for watching. Really hope you enjoyed this video. I'll see you in the next one.